So thank you everyone who's made time to be here. Thank you. So my name is Samuel. I'm going to lead the conversation. Perhaps I'm familiar with some of you, others maybe not, but thank you very much. I see Kaltuma is in. We just played a video that she did around some of the areas of conversation we are having today. So let me share my screen so that then we can have a conversation together. Okay, Stanley, confirm that you can view my screen. Okay.
Yeah, it's very visible.
Thank you very much. So I think I'm basically leading this conversation today because I've been a bit longer in this platform, the Children Agenda Forum. My name is Samuel Munyoin. I work with the African Institute for Children's Studies. We are a non-profit registered here in Kenya and other countries like Uganda, South Sudan, Zimbabwe, but we are a Kenyan original organization. And we were requested in 2015 to volunteer as a secretary to Children Agenda Forum. So we are proposing that this session will be run in this manner. I will do a very brief introduction of the Children Agenda Forum. Like it says here, the purpose is to see how we can strengthen our collaboration as local organizations so that we can be more available to contribute to addressing various humanitarian and development needs in the North Arid Land counties, which are about 10 counties in Kenya, as classified generally. So once I take us through that, I will bring out some issues that have, motivated us as Children Agenda Forum to call for this meeting, and then we will have a plenary. But even as we do that, we will be sharing with you a registration form. So Stanley, you can copy it and share it in the chat messages in the thing, so that you can kindly fill in there, put in your information, basically your name, your phone and email, and your organization, just to register that you are here. There'll be another form that will be shared towards the end of the meeting for those who are interested in joining Children Agenda Forum. Some of you could already be members. So let me go straight to the point. I should take about 10 or so minutes, and then really this is about listening to you rather than to us. So let me give a little background on Children Agenda Forum. So this was established in May 2015, and at that point, the world was crafting the next development goals to take over from the MDGs, if you remember the Millennium Development Goals. And while we were doing that across many sectors, from health, water, and everything else, those who work in the children's space, and that's the broad range of rights around children and communities, realized that we did not have as many clearly guided CSO engagement, civil society. And here I'm talking about NGOs, CBOs, especially those who are local and led locally. So the goal therefore of CAF was to bring together child-led organizations, or rather child-focused organizations, and support them to have a platform where they can share their aspirations and especially advocate and monitor the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. CAF has been hosted by African Institute since then, and we are very grateful for that privilege, and we've done a lot of things. Maybe I can point them out in relation to the objectives that we have. So one is that CAF seeks to strengthen the coordination among the members, the NGOs especially, but also to an extent the government. So we've, for example, led in drafting of the Children's Act, which came into law in 2022. This is after about 15 years and more of really advocating. We've had platforms where we work with the government to set the agenda, the Office of the Principal Secretary, the CS office, and most matters, child protection are linked to the Ministry of Labor, but also work with the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, and things like school health policy. So really, this is a platform for us to work together and set the agenda. Children Agenda Forum is also a platform for sharing data on children. So if you go to our website, you will notice, that's the Children Agenda website, you will notice a web map that shows who is doing what across the country. And we want to invite you to be part of that. But also it helps us see what are the issues ongoing, like which county seems to be better prepared, for children. So the most child-friendly county in terms of budget allocations, in terms of the child mortality rates, access to education. So there are those kind of indicators that we are providing. We also have supported advocacy. Like I've mentioned, the Children's Act was one of them. We are right now gearing towards evaluating the National Plan of Action for Children, which was running between 2015 and 2022. We have organized international conferences on child protection in 2016, in 2018, and we are working right now on one for this year. Some of you may have seen the request for suggestion on the themes. So lastly is to work with members to build our capacity. How to generate data from our own work, how to package our information. So from time to time, there are trainings. We've done trainings on things like budget advocacy. How do you engage with your county and with your national government to ensure that budgets, the public financing budget, is responsive, not just being allocated, but monitoring. And I need to point out very early that that is a major, major gap. We are very quick to shout, we want more money, but we don't follow up on what that money did. And the truth is, the office of the Cabinet Secretary for Planning or Treasury usually does not have capacity to follow up on all projects. We are on the ground. It is an opportunity that I'm very early on, I want to encourage us to take on, and we have capacity to do trainings and help us to know how to do that and use tools. So why are we here? There are several reasons why we want to be here, but I just want to point out 3 things that really made us feel this is urgent. So one is the humanitarian situation in the North arid lands. And, anyone who has lived a few years, like I've lived, knows that there are patterns that we expect, especially in relation to climate and weather. Of course, some of this is changing due to climatic change, but something like that is a pattern of almost one phase of floods, lots of rain, and 2 to 3 years of no rain is known for our country. So we shouldn't be behaving like we don't know. We expected that there will be floods and that there will be time when that water will be flushed and there's going to be drought. So when you look at this prediction that was done in terms of the hunger, food insecurity by Food and Agriculture Organization, and some of you are familiar with this than me, we expected that there will be a rising number of people who end up in phase 3. Phase 3 means households that go hungry, sleep hungry, completely cannot afford food, cannot access it, and issues of livelihood lost. So we know these things. So the question is our response consistent with what we know? Okay. Are the local communities being involved in the planning? If the government response is not adequate, what are we bringing on the table and saying, demanding this is what must happen? Because we know what is important for us. So we think we cannot have a country where we keep responding to drought, hunger, and floods and other humanitarian issues. We saw the locusts, COVID and all these things. They shouldn't come to us like a real surprise. And most of you, if you've been a bit old enough, I'm sure there was a way in which your communities responded to this. I think someone once said, you knew how the birds were flying in a certain direction and you knew the rains will be short or long, and you knew which direction. You begin having discussion between the elders on how to share resources for pasture, for example. So these are things that we think you should be able to do better by locally led interventions. Secondly is just what I'm mentioning there, the importance of locally led and locally owned interventions in both humanitarian and development settings. So what do we mean here? One, just like I've said that there's already a local knowledge amongst you as communities, as experts. There's a pattern of data that you can see, and we should be able to use that, not just even among adults, but even among children. That's why some of you, I'm sure, are involved in child participation. How can we ensure the elders are leading conversations? and using their knowledge on how to address things. We recently did some study with Save the Children on child hunger, and I'm sure they may be sharing that report with some of you. And there were a lot of information on what the local community knows. What innovation can we have on how to address things? One of those that I'm very keen on, when you travel to other countries like Botswana, which is much more desert than we have in our country, they are one of the largest exporters of beef, to the Middle East. Yet they're in proper desert. They're very organized in how they have done their animal care. Why don't we learn from that? Why don't we invest in such things and make them visible? The other one, from our experience in working in other countries and listening to partners in other communities, including in Nairobi, is what is called community organizing. Some of you may be familiar with Community Organizing and Training Manual. It's called COT. There's even a community of practice. These are models on how you can organize communities right from Nyumba Kumi. And by the way, I knew about that even before Nyumba Kumi, because this model has been used in countries like Philippines, Bangladesh, with great success, giving power to communities to make demand on what is priority for them, to make demand on good use of their resources. And that is very, very critical. And we want to be able to share these kind of experiences, not as African Institute for Children Studies only, or Children Agenda Forum, but indeed yourself can share some experiences, make it available. So we really want to encourage this platform to do that. The other one is involvement and participation. How do we involve young people? How do we involve, community groups? How do we involve women in decision making? And then advocacy, very critical, that we want to see that we are doing evidence-based advocacy. Generate data from the community, move it upwards to influence things at county level, move them to conferences, move them to decision making at national level. So advocacy is very critical, and picking the voices, documenting them, sharing what exactly is working. And lastly, capacity sharing. I think I've already mentioned some of this. You know something that I don't know. We can easily share information and make ourselves big. And lastly, that we want to work as networks. You don't need to kill one network for the other one to work. No. Each network has a clear area of strength. How do we build on that? And we want to encourage you that while we have this Children Agenda Forum network at national level and now in a few counties, that some of you can pick on leadership, be the convener, or bring together any organization that are interested in children and communities and development agenda and work together from there. Then we can come up at the national level as a strong one. My last and third issue is that where our mouths are, resources must follow. And resources is what makes things work. And we know one thing, that as civil society organizations, we are often working from what we call a rights-based approach to programming. What does this mean? I'm sure many of you are familiar, but basically we are saying that within any organized society, the most important role is that every human being, their right to life, their right to development must be respected. And that is why you come in as a civil society organization, to help put together these vulnerable communities, the minority groups, or people with certain interests, and ensure that your rights, the rights of these people, are realized. What does that mean? That someone else must be accountable for delivery of that right. Many times it's the government or the community systems. So how do we help to do that in such community systems? And that is what we want to come in here and say, you have no responsibility to distribute food, but you have a responsibility to ensure that food, when it's being distributed, is done accordingly, and everyone has a fair access to that. So rights-based approach just means there's someone with the rights, there's someone with the duty. How do we ensure we build capacity of both? How can we ensure county governments are more accountable? Second is the issue of access to the resource itself. And again, in a rights-based approach, we're saying this public financing is the main source of money. You've paid your taxes. Today, if you went and bought anything, you've already paid a tax. How is that tax being used? So budget advocacy and budget monitoring, I said. For those in the space of children, I want to point out this specific one, Child Welfare Fund. So I was very key, I played a key role in drafting of the new law. And one of those things that we advocated for is the Child Welfare Fund. So it is now in the law, Section 12(7) of our Children Act 2022. Expect that the CS for Treasury, of course, in liaison with the CS for Labor and other related CS, will set up the Child Welfare Fund that, as it reads here, will guarantee that the rights of children are realized. How do we expect this to work? We expect that you are going to be able to access this money as local community organizations. So if you did not know, please join this. Right now, what is going on is we are finalizing what is called the rules and regulations that will be used to implement the new law. But we want you to be part of that. So I'll be sharing some of this with you as CSOs, because that's our role as the Children Agenda Forum and African Institute. We will share this with you. I sit in the Standing Committee on Access to Justice, special committee that is gazetted through the Chief Justice Office, and we want to hear your feedback. How will we make sure this fund operates? But the idea is this, that if there's a child in the street in Wajir, you should be, as a local organization, able to do something about that and access the resources to do it from the taxes. So this is one opportunity that I really want you to tap into, and let's have a conversation how to make this work. I know it's not fully rolled out, but we need to demand it, otherwise we'll sleep. The moment our members of parliament and other people know about this, you will see the kind of hullabaloo that will be there. We need to be organized and know how to structure this. It's not limited to North Arid lands, it's across Kenya. The other one is the Street Families Rehabilitation Trust Fund. If you're doing anything on children who do not have parental care, you should be able to access this money. Apply for it. It's your money. The other one is a social protection fund, cash transfer. I've seen groups like Equity Bank come in and support this. Please let us be able to tap in this. Maybe you already know something else. So we want to invite you to be able to speak about that. So we want to go into conversation and hear from you. So one, I'm hoping you're registering. You should be registering in the link that was provided. Let me repost it if you're not seeing it. So kindly don't just type in there, put in your name in the link on the chat box. If you don't have it, we'll also put it on the WhatsApp group. You can do that. So at this point, let me invite you. What we want to hear is, what is your feeling about your level of involvement in addressing the humanitarian and development issues in the North Arid areas? Where are the gaps? What are the opportunities? Are there other initiatives, networks that we can join with? And then we'll agree on the next steps. So if you're able, lift up your hand. But maybe at this point, I can stop sharing so that I can see my screen better. But if you want something to be asked about sharing from whatever I've done, I'll bring it back. So please go ahead and lift up your hand or unmute. Sorry, just a moment. I think you're stopped from mute. Yes, now you can unmute. Feel free to unmute and speak. I see Andrew Akole, your mic was okay. Whoever wants to go first. So you will kindly introduce yourself, your name, your organization, and which county, and then go ahead and speak. I see Mohammed. Do you want to speak?
And I'm speaking from West Pokot, representing organization called TEDO. For persons,
okay, Andrew Akwole, we didn't hear the initial part of your introduction. Go ahead. Go ahead, Andrew, unmute again, please. You're muted. Andrew, you're muted. Okay, as Andrew gets his mic to work, anyone else? So we just want to hear from you, your organization. What are the gaps you're seeing in your engagement and some of the issues I've raised? then we'll see how to move this forward.
Yes, through the chair.
Yes, Mohammed, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I am Mohammed Sheikh. I work with Action for Sustainable Change, covering Northern Kenya, Wajir and Mandera counties. Mine is actually quite brief, but basically asking, you say Children Agenda Forum was established 2015. And what motivated you now just to start this conversation? Because, of course, in the other regions, we have actually faced extreme drought the last 2 years, and we have never had any press briefing or statement regarding the Child Agenda Forum advocating for child rights integration in emergency response. Because during this phase of emergencies, there are lots of challenges children has faced across the Asal region. Because basically when they are doing, agents are doing response, we don't say this is children, and there's no actually a standalone project for children to be addressed. It is actually a blanket response. So during that period, the Children Agenda Fund will come out clearly to organize all actors on child protection space to safeguard children during this emergency phase. But now, what motivated you when we are almost now, although we are now at the recovery phase of drought, the drought is actually cycling and flooding phase. So what has motivated you? All those emergencies we faced since 2015, you have been actually existing. Again, you are also mentioning the new act. When they were doing public participation, you never organized the actors to come together and give input to the act. But during this, is there an opportunity perhaps you find somewhere to bring us together so that we can able jointly pursue and respond to the emergency? Because, well, I know there are localization agenda globally, which is a movement which is trying to, most agencies donor funding are supposed to say they're supposed to work with local actors at the grassroots, especially the USA. 25% has to be actually go down to the local actors at the grassroots level for sustainability, and the locally lead response has to be actually engaged. So that's my comment. The gaps are there, of course, but before the gaps, we want to know why, what motivated you. Thank you.
Very good question, Mohammed. Thank you for that. So, so you're right. We started in 2015, and at that point, our motivation was not even the conversation on localization. It was rather just the importance of having, ourselves as local organizations being there. It was not an external voice. So I'm actually not necessarily coming in this because of the growing conversation on locally led or localization, but this is something we should have been doing. So why now? Why not, 4 years back when the drought started? So the truth is, we've tried to map out organizations and ask them to come on board, but it's been a challenge. No one funds us, by the way. We don't have any funding. So we've often had either volunteers or as African Institute putting some little resources that we can. So now that we have Stanley, of course, I think it's come at a good time when he's able to mobilize this. So there's always a starting point. They say better late than never. And that's why I'm already mentioning, Mohammed, that we want to request some of you to have this. In other counties, like in Kakamega, we have some very strong member networks that are already there. In Kilifi, in Mombasa. So I think there's always a beginning point for that. And we are not only motivated by the localization, but that's also a good opportunity. Now that big donors have committed, there's the grand commitment. I'm forgetting the name. You may even know this better than me. And the charter, all these things that have been signed up, are they actually putting money to you? But we are coming in because we think as Children Agenda Forum, it's very critical that we build on the knowledge you have. Rashid Mohammed, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I hope I'm clear.
Very clear, thank you.
Yes, my name is Rashid Mohammed from Alaf Ireland's Action Forum, a local grassroots community-based organization in Mandera County. And I will first appreciate the Child Agenda Forum, CAF, and particularly Stanley and Samuel for taking this bold step of thinking around the aspect, even though you are talking around humanitarian issues and this thing, trying to ignite a debate around localization. Many have not done. So you are coming in, and we must appreciate you because you are trying to bridge the gap. You must have seen there is a gap, and I applaud you for this particular step because if you look at, we are at the local level, but we have knowledge around some issues that are going on. Even despite, CAF igniting this debate, there are people, some international organizations who are struggling with things like, I don't know, Charter for Change. You see, trying to say we are trying to, spread the word, the gospel around localization. But if you look at it again, the same international NGOs are the ones who are holding onto these things, not allowing other people to even drive this charter. If you look at the drivers of this charter in Kenya, there are two organizations, the lead ones, and they are both international NGOs. For me, there is no CBO that is leading. But for CAF to come in and say, look, it is now the right time to take a different trajectory, that itself must be appreciated. And I personally appreciate what you have, the discourse that is today taking place. The other issue is, you did ask a very genuine question. Tell us what are the gaps, what are the opportunities, and on the level of humanitarian interventions. Very good. What I can say is that the gap exists because we are CBOs. It has been a tradition. Even in my own home county, you will find international NGOs coming there, but you see they will hold into a program because they are able to access funding, and then they do 2-3 year interventions. Then, at the end of the day, they move out without an exit strategy, even without empowering local communities, local organizations there. So this debate is at the right time, and I appreciate CAF for that again. That is a gap itself that was existing. What is the problem if CAF come in and say we need to address these gaps? The other thing is that opportunities are there because at the International Humanitarian Partnership conference in Istanbul, this debate was ignited by what we call Oxfam. They are the main drivers. Actually, they are the first people who brought this debate around this issue of localization. But again, yes, I find an opportunity because at the end of the day, even those organizations who have been doing there, because now localization will look at, okay, why can't we not have local solution, local problem? Instead of putting an international NGO there to do some work and then pull out, and then that is the end of the program. Why can't we not bring up these things? And that is, I think, to me, the trajectory CAF is trying to take. Because if you look at what I just said around the Humanitarian Partnership Conference, when that debate was ignited, I personally got an opportunity through Christian Aid, which was holding a conference around localization. And then there were 2 consultants who came in to share. I think that was around 2016, the first time this debate was ignited. Then they said, and I'm sorry to say so, maybe they are here also, the international NGOs, and that room was dominated by international NGOs. And the consultants were very firm and said, no, this is the way to go, because these people know their problems, these people know their solutions. I think around the 50 or so organizations that were there, other than an MDA representation, the National Drought Management, I think I was the only CBO there. And there was a lot of resistance from the international NGOs at that particular. But the consultants were firm, and then they said they are moving actually to disseminate this information. They are going to meet some women groups, some CBOs in Marsabit. So I think opportunities are there. Whether someone likes it or not, localization is shaping up. But at the end of the day, we must appreciate people like CAF who are trying to ignite this debate and discourse and try to entrench it at the lower level. And I'm very happy you are taking a very right trajectory, because you have started with, the arid and semi-arid, and particularly the arid areas. And I'm sure there's something that has been into your mind that has been left out, because you find this area as a very vulnerable area, and giving out this opportunity of debate. I think this is just the start. We must appreciate it. That's all I can say. And thank you very much. And the other issue I wanted to add is we are at 1541, and some of us are Muslims who are attending here. Personally, I will speak for myself. If it will be at exactly 4 or 4 or 5, I will leave the Zoom, because that is exactly when our prayer time will begin. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, Rashid. Actually, maybe we'll try and aim to finish this by 5 minutes to 4, so that we allow you to go to Swali. Mohammed, you want to add something?
Yes, thank you. Actually, based on Rashid comments, I want just to generate a question from there. Because currently, there's a Charter for Change, which is actually co-chaired by Procare and Alder Kenya. And also, Oxfam also actually coordinates ASAL Humanitarian Network and Amofia's network, which is not registered, but a number of organizations they are brought together for just fundraising. So how do you now harmonize between all these structures? Because Oxfam is actually spreading localization on their own. Charter for Change, which is actually co-chaired by Procare, also have a membership on issues on the localization agenda. So how do you now harmonize these all structures to bring together, have a localization champion or as one structure? Thank you.
Thank you for that. So, like I mentioned earlier on, and let me take us back to one slide that I had on that. So it is true that there is an issue of resources. And personally, as an individual, I have a lot of pride when we pay things from our own things. I really have a lot of pride on that. So what I want to say is, one, as we map out the possible resources to help us to be at the front line of advocacy and perhaps even, providing services to our communities, one, let us begin from home. I think in the space of children, I've highlighted some of this. There could be many other things that are going on out there. I think the first thing is to be able to share with each other and know there's a resource for this, there's a resource for this, who is there, how do we represent ourselves to ensure that there is fairness in distribution of those resources. That's number one. So I agree the other opportunity is to work with our international development partners. And yes, there are all these other platforms. So one of those, if there's any member here, I think I spoke to Ahmed, and he mentioned to me there are members here of the ASAL network who have been, part of this conversation, and I think on Charter for Change, and even the Grand Bargain for some of you. If they're already existing networks, I think the beginning point is to be able to map. So one of the things we are suggesting that we'll do in the next 1 month or so is to send out a tool to all of us and tell us, let us see who is giving you resources from where is the gap. Then we can use that information and collectively go back. We can either have physical meetings or have signed documents where we all sign, go back to some of these donors and tell them, you're saying you're preaching this gospel here, but when it comes to the ground, you are not doing that. This is how we are. You are not meeting our needs. How much resources are being allocated for your ICR that cover your other budgets for overheads. That fairness must be in those kind of things. So I think my beginning point is to map out who is where. We need to place ourselves in each of these places, and then come back and report and say, here there's a gap, this is where we can do. I know there's enough work, there's enough resources out here. So my immediate thoughts is, if you're in any of this, kindly do that. So Kaltuma, go ahead. I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Samuel, and hello, everyone. My name, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Kaltuma Rashid from Womankind Kenya, Garissa. Mine is on three things. One of which is on the last thing that the last person who spoke talked about. On the networks and the platforms that we sit in or some of our organizations belong to, like Womankind, the C4C, the Charter for Change, the ASAL Humanitarian Network, the Grand Bargain. These are all platforms that Womankind subscribes to and Womankind belongs to. So maybe what I will maybe think will work is how do we, in these platforms that we sit, how do we bring together like-minded individuals, even the NGOs or the donors that are funding us, to subscribe to localization and quality funding to their partners, and not just funding, but quality funding, and how the funding is regulated and how the funding is managed and all that. And are the funds really getting to the grassroots, to the right people and in the right hands and doing the right work that is intended to do? Because we're talking of funding, but with the little funding that we have at the end of the day, what is being done with that little funding? Quality funding is the question here. The other thing is on investing in local knowledge, and innovation, and building the capacities and the expertise of the people we work with. Like there's somebody who spoke about people coming to work in a locality 3, 4, 5 years down the line, the project's life cycle phases out. What next? That is the end of that program. That is the end of that community benefiting. Right from the word go, how do we involve the people that we work with, so that at the end of the day, even with or without funding, with or without Wokike or any other organization being there, the continuity and how do we leave behind a self-sustainable community, or do we leave behind a community that whatever we are doing just stops once we stop implementation of our programs? So that is the three things that I wanted to contribute to this gathering here today, and thank you.
Thank you, Kaltuma. So maybe we'll have about 2 or 3 more people give their thoughts, and then we agree on the next steps. I want us to finish this meeting before 4 p.m. So anyone else, your hand can be up or simply unmute and speak. Yes, Judy. Judy Kipkenda.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Judy Kipkenda. I'm from Baringo County. I'm the founder of an organization known as Koibateko GIEK Women and Youth Network. We work with women, children, and the young people. Well, mine is not really to add on the gaps or opportunities. It's just to agree with what you people have shared, and especially on the matters localization. And when you touched on bringing the donors or the financiers on board and making them understand why it's really important for them to support local-led innovations and programs. Yeah. While we are mapping them, I wanted to suggest, after mapping them, if we could just maybe in future plan to meet them and have this conversation with them, because just mapping them and picking one of them will not really be important. But if we've mapped, for example, we say there are these much organization or international organizations that are giving funds in this particular area. For example, let's say in Baringo, they're doing activities in Baringo. We have them on board and explain to them why they need to use the local organizations to implement the projects they want to do, not to go and pick some organizations from Nairobi and come and implement projects in our Baringo country. That's just an example. Otherwise, thank you so much. I'm very new in this platform, and I'm really liking the kind of discussions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy. Very encouraging. I like some of the points you're pointing for the next steps. We'll come back to that the next few minutes. Any other contribution?
Yeah, my name is Maclean Serede from Brighter Society Initiative. So I don't have much to add on most of the things have been said already, but I just want to say thank you for creating time to have this conversation as a team, as a whole. And yeah, that's it. I work from Tana River County.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sebastian, I see your hand is up.
Okay, I'm Sebastian Lepario from Baringo County also, representing Baringo Women and Youth Organization. And mine is to appreciate the kind of discourse that we are having. Because of late, for some time, we have been experiencing challenges. For example, when you have external or international actors and people, maybe big organizations dominating, even in the local areas where we have upcoming CBOs like ours. So this kind of delocalization of activities of the NGOs to the grassroots, in my view, is very good step, and it's going to, because you see, for example, when these big international organizations, when they come and they go, they lift back the local CBOs without being empowered, then the projects that they have come to initiate will not last. But if the local NGOs are empowered and help to do the work, even when the other partners leave, the projects will still be able to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. I have shared something on my screen. Yes, I'm giving you a moment, but I've shared something on the screen. I just want to explain it. So this is the website of the Children Agenda Forum, childrenagendaforum.org. You can go to it and check it out. But one of the opportunities we are giving is this tool. It's a mapping of who is providing services where. We did this at the height of COVID because we needed a rapid response and to know which county, which village has been left out. So what this allowed us to do is we mapped out who is providing what services. So for example, if you went to Wajir, you will find World Vision, there was a contact provided and what services they are providing. We'll be changing this a little bit so that beyond COVID, we can be able to provide other services. So for example, if you're running a shelter, your contact will be there and people can know you. One of the issues that the developing partners are saying is they go into a county and they don't know who to work with. So one, if you're working on children specific, are you a member of the county area advisory council for children's services? You need to be there. But even more importantly, can we work together as networks in the county of children organizations? The more we are together, the stronger our voice, and then you can tap into the other resources. So I'll come back to this as one of the way forwards, but I will encourage you to give us data and we'll tell you how to, so that we can map you in this map and make you visible, because donors are now going to this map to find out who is providing what services. Sorry, who was speaking? Go ahead.
Okay, hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi,
my name is Nuria Golo from Marsabit, and I am a board of director in the National Council for Children's Services, and I'm the CEO of an organization called Marsabit Women Advocacy and Development Organization in Marsabit. I'm glad to meet many members of the network we belong to, AHN, Asal Humanitarian Network, and may I take this opportunity to thank you for creating this space for us. You know, when you talk of children, you talk of northern arid lands, these are things which are at our heart, and we get excited a little. And we would like to know a lot about what it entails. Mine is to thank you very much for what you have started, but kindly I would request, as most of the members have alluded to, that we need to touch base, even have a physical meeting with you people, so that we can know really where and how we are going to get into partnership, because we have a lot of fears of unknown, and this has happened due to getting into partnership with the people, and at the end of the day, you being dumped and left without, any notice. So I don't say you share the same qualities, but just, as a newcomer, the fears are always there. So our goodwill is very important. We are ready to work with you, but kindly touch base with us and let's know more about CAF. Our interest is children, arid lands, drought, and so many other calamities which have happened, which are affecting our area so much. You have seen recently the floods. It was drought, and after drought, now floods. And you know how the children suffer. So kindly, let's get more information so that we can know a lot about CAF. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nuria. And if you work with the National Council for Children's Services, thank you. You're also able to link us up with the government. Personally, I've worked very closely with Abdinur, and we've worked very closely with the National Council generally. So I think in terms of just the confidence that this is beyond people trying to get anything from another one, that we've been here for almost since 2015. That's going 7 years or more, and we have worked very closely with the government, and we continue doing so. So we want to bring that. But more importantly for me is you yourselves must be organized and find space for your own voices. It should not be, I should not take your information and take them anywhere. What I want is that we want organized voices. That way we'll be able to shape the agenda for this country. So thank you for that. We have 4 minutes and I really have to close on time. Is there anyone with very, very burning inputs? But again, this is not the last one.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Halima.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Halima Kahie. I'm the station manager with Wajir Community Radio, a community-based radio station based in Wajir County, but covering some parts of Garissa, some parts of Mandera, and some parts of Isiolo. I think this is the best discussion I've ever had, because if you see how the civil society is shrinking, I think the best way is to go locally. And locally, we have the great opportunities. We understand the topography of area where we are working. And for sustainability of any development project or any program, I think local organizations have the right information. They have what it takes to implement any programs. Therefore, as a radio station, we have been advocating for the pastoralist community, especially the child rights. And Wajir Community Radio is part of Wajir Child Rights Network, a consortium of civil society who have joined together in order to fight for the right of the pastoralist children. So I really welcome, and I'm happy to be here. This is my first time I've ever heard about local organization being empowered, and I really welcome it, and I'm happy to see some of.
Okay, thank you, Halima. Now, I've seen 2 hands up, but for the benefit of those who are about to leave, let me suggest some next steps, and then I'll give Monica and Naishoro some opportunity to speak. So my suggestion on the next steps, number 1, let us make this meeting regular, at least for the North Arid lands. We could agree either on quarterly meetings or perhaps even monthly, but maybe let's begin with quarterly. Number 2, that Stanley will work with you in counties and maybe create county-specific, platforms, WhatsApp groups, and maybe mailing lists, and work with you to be able to meet together. We don't have resources now, but I don't think resources are an issue. Where there is a clarity on solving a problem and good faith, I'm sure resources will follow. We can work with partners in your county to have your own meeting and set the agenda. These are our priorities. So that's number 2. Number 3, we will reach out to all the organizations here and many others who are not here and have you in the map that I've just shown you, so that you're visible to your governments, you're visible to your community, your contact is available, you're also visible to the donors. I think the more visible you are, the better it is for you. And then once you set up the different agendas, we will be able to invite you into either capacity building initiatives, moments when we'll be able to engage with the donors. Lastly, on the donors, especially on the localization, those who signed up, we'll reach out to you with a tool and just help us get information that we can present as a group now to various donors. And I know there are partners we are working with already, you already working with others, we will reach out to them with data. Without data, cannot do a strong advocacy. So those are my immediate suggestions on next steps. So let's begin with, was it Halima and then Naishura? Was it really Halima? Yes, go ahead and you can speak to the next steps, and then feel free to leave if you have to leave now, especially those who are in Kuswali. And thank you very much. But I'll listen to a few more and then we'll close the meeting in about 5 minutes. Naishura? Halima, go ahead, unmute.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Halima Hussein from Humanitarian Kenya, program coordinator. Thank you for this forum and this platform. It is very encouraging, and at least I have seen many of us who are also in other networks like the ASAL in the Northern Humanitarian Network, and also Charter for Change. I encourage this and I welcome this platform, but my worry is one, there are other platforms that we are in and we are always giving our ideas, they collect our ideas and sometimes even ask for proposals, and we give our ideas on the proposal writings, but the resources they get always goes to specific organizations. Always, every time, the same organizations. So I hope this platform is going to be a different one. Another thing is I request if you can form a WhatsApp group for us so that we regularly interact and also exchange ideas there. Thank you.
Thank you, Halima. So one, on the matter of fundraising or that, as Children Agenda Forum, we don't implement projects, so we don't expect to ask you for that. But we will be able to link you up to resources as we hear them. So it's really up to you. If you know about resources that others can benefit from, it's a platform for sharing information. There is the
but
big
you support in looking for resources, right? Not
yes,
implementing directly.
No, we don't.
That is what I'm talking about.
Yes, we don't implement directly, but we will work with you to link you to resources, link you to capacity sharing. There is the big net WhatsApp group called Children Agenda Forum that has been there since 2015. We will give you that link, but we are creating a specific one for not arid lands because we think the issues there, and like I already showed you in the map, we don't have organizations in those counties. Very few of them have been coming forth. So we want to encourage that platform for your own issues. Great. Naishura?
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm happy and glad to be part of this meeting today. I came a bit late, too late actually, but I'm very happy to be part of this group today. So mine, I don't really have much to say. It's just to echo on what most of us have said, that we have to bring in combined efforts in order to bring the change that we really want to see in our communities. So myself, I'm a representative or an activist of FGM and early marriage and gender-based violence based in Kajiado County, and we advocate for the end of these practices through music. So yes, challenges are there, and we are moving on, regardless. And also thinking on the long run and the kind of challenges that we have, let me say at the moment, we are really trending on the side of production, because we really would love to produce more songs. We have 5 songs now that we've done with victims of FGM and early. But because of a few issues to do with funding and such logistics, production costs basically, it has come to a bit put on spending for a little while now, but we're hoping things will work out well with time. So I'm just looking forward to working with you more, and any individual who perhaps has the same vision, maybe you want to community through music, then I think that would be something really, really amazing to collaborate and work together. Otherwise, thank you so much, guys, for having this in mind, bringing us together, and getting us prepared to share our challenges and our ideas on how to bring the change we really want to see in our community. A big shout out to everyone who is standing in these communities that are still resistant on the change. I just want to say thank you and keep us a good spirit. Asante sana.
Asante sana. Thank you very much. So I really usually love to keep time. So this conversation will continue, but not just for the sake of conversation. We'll be able to set out very clear goals that we want in the next quarter God willing, as we go on. We'll do this slowly by slowly, but the goal is to strengthen you to be able to deliver services to your communities from a rights-based approach with a very lots of confidence. So I want to appreciate that. I think you can reach out to Stanley Okoth for more information and email him, get his contact so that then you can get that.